I first started working with horses, I felt a couple things. I felt extremely passionate about it. I still do, but it was that novel passion of something new and exciting. And it's been a while now, but I also felt I was terrified because, here I am trying to adjust horses, do my chiropractic work on horses, and I adjusted people for a long time, and I've adjusted dogs for a long time, but now I was adjusting horses, and I was learning from the best in the world, Dr. Jay Kamerick, who, without Jay or my first horsemanship instructor, Mindy Bauer, I would not be able to do the work that I do with horses chiropractically. But when I first started to learn how to adjust horses, I was terrified, and I knew that I needed to immerse myself in it. And thankfully, thank God, Mindy was willing to teach me. And I spent some years at her ranch, going every week and spending time in her herd of horses, and learning horsemanship from her and learning how to ride from her. And what I started to learn was, it was really interesting because I grew up wrestling, and I've been doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for over 20 years. And I feel like with sports like wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, everything is based on a feel. So you're learning technique, and depending how into it you are, you're drilling it intensely. You're putting many hours on the mat to learn the technique. It's a little bit windy today, but man, let me tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful day here. But you're spending hours and hours of technique. So I started to apply that work ethic to horsemanship. But what I realized is that developing the feel, that when you're learning horsemanship, you're learning to put pressure on a horse and then release it. You put pressure and release. And wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is a lot like that. I have a little chicken over here that's come to visit me. You're learning that. You're learning this thing of pressure and release. And I feel like developing a feel, when you ride, at least the Western style, the vaquero style, they talk about ride with the soft feel, which means, you're not ripping on the horse's mouth. You're riding through your seat, and you're developing leg pressure. Man, it's one of the hardest things I've ever learned in my life. But you're developing the feel, and I feel like the feel, it's like a universal language, because you could develop a feel with people. You ever get a feel for someone? Maybe someone feels a little off, or you feel like you're really connecting to someone. I believe that. I believe the development of feel, it's like a universal language, and I believe it develops our intuition. And man, let me tell you, there's nothing worse than losing trust for your intuition. Well, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more things worse than that, but it's pretty bad when you don't trust your gut. It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough way to go through life. But horsemanship, groundwork specifically, in developing a soft feel when I ride, it has helped me immeasurably with my abilities as a chiropractor. And also, wrestling and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has helped me immeasurably as a chiropractor, because when you adjust a dog, a human, or a horse, it's all feel. Like, yes, there's protocols, and you're studying, and you could x-rays and blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, when you put your hands on someone and you're going to address those patterns of tension and distortion and fixation throughout their neuromechanics, it is feel and how well you developed that feel. That's what it comes down to. If your feel isn't well developed, well, guess what? Your adjusting skills aren't well developed. It's the same thing with wrestling. If your development of feel isn't very good, you're most likely going to get thrown on your back and pinned. If your development and feel is in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu isn't very good, you're most likely going to get dominated in a position and submitted. And if your development of feel isn't very good with horses, you're going to run into trouble. And I see this a lot because all I do now, so much of my time is spent working with horses, is that you have some people who are, man, they could even be exceptional riders, but they can't handle their horses on the ground. And to me, that's a shame. That breaks my heart a little bit, because it's just, you can put in that effort, you can put in that time of doing groundwork and horsemanship, and the benefits and the results that you'll get from it will even make your riding experience better. But if I'm going to be honest, which I try to be, it saddens me, because if you don't do groundwork and horsemanship with your horse, then your horse is losing out. Because in a lot of ways, we can spoil our horses like we spoil children. And I the great, dog whisperer, Cesar Millan, says, dogs need exercise, discipline, and affection. Kids, it's the same thing: exercise, discipline, and affection. With horses, they exercise, which they're going to get through their work and also with their friends out in the pasture. Discipline, I don't mean like you take a riding crop and whack them with it. That's not what I'm saying. Discipline is like, I have the discipline every day to wake up in the morning, do my morning routine, work out, take a cold shower, read, write, all that. That's discipline. So what I mean is, with the horse, is having the discipline to do the groundwork before you tack them up, and then do the groundwork again once they're tacked up, and then do those same maneuvers under saddle before you start your riding with your horse, because that does a few things. One, it connects you to your horse. Two, you see if the horse is hitching up everywhere or if they're uncomfortable and sore. I think that's important before you're going to work with your horse. And, I like to ask myself 3 questions, and you can use these 3 questions. Whoa, it's a little bit windy. You could ask these 3 questions universally, right? I'm just going to move this a little closer. You could ask these 3 questions universally. Is 1, what do I want? What do I want for my horse? And what do I want for us together as a team? Because some people say to me, horsemanship isn't for me. Okay, why? And then I ask them, well, what do you want? Well, what do you want for your horse? Well, what do you want for you and your horse together as a team? And if you could answer those questions, then I think your most likely outcome of that will be you starting to do groundwork and horsemanship. People ask me, they're like, why should I get my horse adjusted? Or why should I get adjusted? Or why? And, fair enough, it's a fair question, but I think I don't think it's the right question. I think the right question is, same thing. What do you want for you? What do you want for your horse? And what do you want your horse, for you and your horse together as a team? And if you could honestly answer those questions, then I think what's going to happen is, then you can ask the next question is, what actually is chiropractic? What is chiropractic? I can't answer the question, why should you get adjusted, if you don't even know what chiropractic is. So, those questions are kind of like developing a feel, because through those questions, you're starting to figure out what you really want for your horse, and what you want for your horse together as a team. I think the quality of questions we ask ourselves will get us closer to the truth of what we really want out of life. So, years ago, when I was deciding to really immerse myself in horsemanship, I was still balancing, my life as a human chiropractor, and I was trying to get out to Mindy as much as I could. But I heard about this place called McGinnis Meadows Ranch in Libby, Montana. And the owner, which I didn't know much about, but I heard that the owner was really good friends with Buck Brannaman, and they study the Vaquero style of horsemanship. And that, you can ride all day long. You could do horsemanship all day long. You could work cattle all day long. So this is, I heard about this. So sure enough, I signed up and I went out there, and it was one of the best experiences I had, not only for my education about adjusting horses and horsemanship, but also, man, it was phenomenal. First off, this place is a 40,000 acre working cattle ranch, but everything they do there, I don't care if it's the horsemanship or the way the cutlery is set on the table for dinner or the way the pillows are laid out on your bed. Every single thing they do is excellence. Excellence. I mean, they had a herd of 120 horses, and they have horses for everyone. If you never rode a horse before in your life, great. Even better, they have the perfect horse for you. I'm telling you, I think it's probably the best place to learn to ride a horse. And let's say you're like an expert rider. Great. They have a horse for you. I mean, it was phenomenal. I met people out there that were just starting their journey in horses, and I met people who had been in horses for 40 years out there, riding at a very high level. I mean, just absolutely, absolutely incredible. I really, I don't know his last name, but the owner's first name is Shane. I have to hand it to him. Man, what he's created out there at McGinnis Meadows Ranch is its excellence in horsemanship. You will really learn so much. And I was asked by some of the wranglers and the farrier out there when I was out there to start adjusting horses, and I got to adjust some of these horses. They're phenomenal. Let me tell you, when you have a horse that has been worked in horsemanship, vaquero style horsemanship and groundwork, and ridden, not through the mouth but through the seat, they are an absolute pleasure to work with on the ground. An absolute pleasure to work with on the ground. I mean, because the more I can connect with the horse, the less issues I have to fix concerning horsemanship, the more I can do chiropractically. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes when I go to work with the horse, they need more groundwork even to let me in. And if I have to do a lot of groundwork with the horse, I'm going to be limited in the amount of chiropractic I can do with them. Sometimes a horse opens right up to me. They just trust me. And, still to this day, I'm actually shocked that they let me do the things that I do, concerning chiropractic. But, man, the horsemanship goes such a long way because you're developing such a profound connection with the horse. I don't understand how anyone rides, and maybe this is a little judgmental, but I don't understand how anyone rides and they haven't dedicated themselves to groundwork and horsemanship. When my wife and we moved to Virginia, one of the first things I did was seek out someone in that was really good with groundwork and horsemanship. And I got really lucky because I met Michael Alway, and he started to continue my education. So my horsemanship instructors, just to be fair to them, started out as Mindy Bauer, and then I went to Christy Jamal, who was like excellent, amazing. And I'm gonna actually post a video because I was adjusting Christy's dog out in Colorado who was having seizures, and after I adjusted her, you saw such a profound difference in her behavior, but her seizures went away, and Christy was just, she was incredible. I learned so much from her, and she would be with me when I was adjusting horses, and she would really help me because I worked with a few Mustangs. And it's interesting, Mustangs are interesting because some of them I feel are just overwhelmingly joyful to be with humans. But a couple of them, they never got fully comfortable not being free and wild. And man, I get that. But, that free and wild life, you can watch the horses out west, the wild ones, the wild Mustangs. Man, their life isn't easy. It's a hard life, and with humans, the right humans, I wouldn't necessarily say life is easy, but life is good, man. Life is really good. It's good to be part of a family, and the horses feel that. Don't think they don't feel that. They feel that. They feel that within the depths of her soul. You get a horse that's been passed around from rider to rider to rider. Horse who's never, no one's ever taken the time to connect with them through groundwork and horsemanship, and just rides them and puts them away. And they know it, man. They feel used. They feel used, and it's not good. It's not a good outcome. I don't think anything wants to feel like that. But I'm going to put a link for the McGinnis Meadows Ranch as well, because, some people say to me, they're like, I really want to go on a horse vacation, but my husband or my wife isn't into horses. Perfect. Bring them to McGinnis Meadows Ranch, because it is the perfect place to learn how to ride, but it's so beautiful there. There's so much to do. The surrounding area, it's incredible, and I love that place. I cannot wait to bring my family there. I cannot wait to bring my family there, because it is a place of excellence, and I love that dedication, that commitment to excellence. It's a privilege to be able to experience that, and experience people who are dedicated and committed to excellence, especially not only to themselves, but to do that for their horse, to dedicate themselves to a life of excellence and horsemanship, to give that life to their horse it's gratifying. Same thing with some of the people I know that do it with dogmanship. And I have the privilege of becoming friends with a man named Brian Arrington, who's trained a ton of police dogs here in Virginia. And the level of, he's been doing it for over 40 years. So the level of dogmanship, I call it, is just, it's incredible, man. It's absolutely incredible. He actually gave me this sweatshirt that I'm wearing because during COVID, when they had the K9 and SWAT training, I gave their officers an introduction to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu class, and then I took care of them chiropractically, because I wanted them they were getting a lot of heat at the time, and I wanted them to know that there is people that do support law and order, which I do, because without law and order, how can you have a family? How can you have a business? If everything is in chaos, it's very hard to have a business. It's very hard to have a family. So, props to them for dealing with the madness that they do, and props to Brian for being such an amazing dog trainer over the course of 40 years. So it's the same thing, when a dog is really well behaved, I could do so much with them, with them chiropractically. So look in the description. I'm gonna put a link. I'm gonna put a couple links in there. One is gonna be to McGinnis Meadows Ranch. Check this place out, man. This place is absolutely exceptional. And also, I'm gonna put a video in there of me adjusting Christie's dog, if I could find it on YouTube. I'm pretty sure it's still on YouTube. So I hope you enjoy this podcast. And look, if you like it, hit the like button and share it with people. And this one is didn't do a book review this time. It's actually a continuation from The Faraway Horses, which was written by Buck Brannaman. A continuation, because he's a master, man. He is a master of groundwork and horsemanship, and he has helped so many people and horses. So I really feel like, even if you didn't ever have a life with horses, but you went to McGinnis Meadows Ranch and you experienced that for yourself or with your family, it would contribute to the positive development of your life. So if you dig what I'm saying, please check it out. And thanks so much. I'll hit you up next week with another podcast.